I kind of always had a desire to open my own business, but never really knew what I wanted to do.
I love bookkeeping.
Hey, welcome everyone to the I Love Bookkeeping show. I'm your host, Ben Robinson, and today do I have a treat for you. I've got the a wonderful lady that I've had the chance to meet on a couple occasions. She is from Virginia Beach, Virginia, a very popular spot. Not this time of year, but later in the year. She is the owner of Home Time Bookkeeping. She has a four-legged child, and a great fact about her that Kim just told me right before is that she came in second place in the Demolition Derby when she was 18 years old. Welcome to the show, Kim Erick.
Thanks, Ben. Hi, everyone.
Thanks for being on here with us today. So the first question is, I want to know, why in the world did you not finish first?
Well, sometimes those old cars. It was a '76 Impala. It just quit. It wouldn't run anymore. So apparently, I banged it a little too hard, and the engine just wouldn't turn back over and go for that one last thing.
Well, that's a shame.
But the good news is that I lost to someone who had been doing it for several years on my first try. So,
well, that's awesome. Just make sure that I never get close to you in traffic, because
I'm a very good driver.
Yes, as we all say. I think that you would have the superior knowledge and capabilities in that case. But thanks again for being here. It's funny how things could change, right? If you would have won that, you may not have been where you're sitting here today as a bookkeeping professional. And that's what we kind of want to dive into. So let's kind of back into this. Here we are in February of 2019. Don't even know what year it is. But how long have you been a bookkeeping professional?
So I technically started in late August of 2017. So I purchased Bookkeeper Business Launch then. And 4 days later, registered my business name, complete with my first client, who was my husband.
Oh, wow. You didn't waste any time right there.
Not at all.
Yeah. Well, one of the things we always warn against is working with family. But in this case, I think that was warranted. That one's hopefully okay right there.
Well, he wasn't my husband when I started.
Okay. I gotcha.
So if that gives you any clue, it's going well.
But that sealed the deal then, right? That was just
apparently, it wowed him so much.
He's like, I gotta lock this woman down. She's awesome. Oh, that's great. I love it. So why bookkeeping? What made you want to start a bookkeeping business? What was the real root cause?
Well, it's funny you ask. So I spent 16 years in the banking industry. Managing banks and helping other business owners kind of figure out their finances from the banking professional standpoint. And it was always difficult when you would sit down and talk to them and, they wanted to do some lending and you say, well, I need your profit and loss, balance sheet, statement of cash flows. And they look at you with a blank stare. And so I definitely knew that there was a need for it out there. Especially from an educational standpoint. So when my husband decided to start his trucking business, we kind of had that decision to, take me out of the banking world too at the same time. And both of us started our own businesses on a leap of faith.
Wow. 2 leaps of faith.
Yeah.
That's a true.
Not as much with the trucking industry, because they're always going to be there. So with mine, though, it really, was a little bit more because it takes a while to get clients.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's kind of talk about that. Today, how many clients do you have, regular clients?
Today, my regular bookkeeping clients, I have 8. But I've gone up and down in that area. So I have officially signed 15 engagement letters.
Okay.
There's always going to be that up and down within the business with that.
We'll dive into that here in just a little bit when we start talking about some of the challenges of starting a bookkeeping business. But here you sit with 8 clients a day, and what is your niche?
My niche is actually transportation. So I work with truck drivers, owner operators, small fleet owners.
Okay. And I don't want to assume anything, but the reason that you chose that niche.
Well, I kind of had that insider view of it. So, my husband's been really great to teach me the industry from their side of things, which has really helped to dive into that knowledge level that just wouldn't be available to me otherwise, I think.
That's great. I mean, we are huge proponents of niching, and obviously, industry going with transportation companies is a niche. And there's also we can talk about the characteristics of the people and all that. So that's great that you have chosen one, and it's great that you're getting insights. And I'm actually looking at my big board over here where we start talking about the 21st century bookkeeper and building it upon relationships and being a specialist. And that's what you've done. So great job there, Kim. That's a
Thank you.
big pat on the back to you there. That's very wise. Now, why not just continue in the banking industry? Like what was the reason that you wanted to start your own gig?
Well, I kind of always had a desire to open my own business, but never really knew what I wanted to do. So it always kind of stopped me because, obviously there's a lot of ideas that you have come with the need for a significant cash influx of money. So I would have loved to start like an ice cream shop or something like that. But, we had conversations of, will the equipment costs and the building costs and all of that would go into it. And, so we looked at a lot of traditional types of, businesses and it just didn't make sense financially. So actually one day, I was going through, the penny hoarder and looking for ideas to just kind of increase the income a little bit, do something on the side, and, to maybe find something that would work. And I came across bookkeeping and I was like, that actually makes a lot of sense based upon my history. I was a class short of having my accounting degree. That would have been my third bachelor's. But I graduated in 3.5. If I would have stayed around for the fourth, I could have had that third one, but decided
Slacker.
not to.
Total slacker, Kim. Come on.
So I spent the year in DC instead between undergrad and grad school. But I continued on with that financial side of things, and my master's is actually in public administration, with that concentration in budget and finance management. So it was kind of just always there in my background and in my past, but just never came to fruition. So it really just was like, oh, that I could totally do. And so, I wasn't ready to shell out any money for it. So I started, just brushing up on my accounting skills, on my own, and I was like, oh, I don't think I can do this. And I kept revisiting the videos for BBL, and I was like, this just makes so much sense. And had that conversation with the husband, like, hey, I know we're doing this, but can we make this cash outlay to do this? And I'm so glad we did.
Well, I'm glad that you did too for a number of reasons, and that's key. And we'll actually at the end of the show, I'll tell you how you can get more information about Bookkeeper Business Launch, which is what Kim mentioned. But I want to stay focused here on you, Kim.
Sure.
So, all right. If you had to encapsulate in one word why your own business versus working for the bank, what would that be?
Time freedom.
Time freedom. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I think that this is going to come back to the opportunity that we're going to talk about here in just a little bit. And there's more than just that. I'm not just asking that for kicks and grins. We're actually going to probably tie this back in a little bit. But freedom is the number one word by and large that people say because we want to control our destiny. We want to feel like we are the masters of our own domain, so to speak.
Right.
Is like, what does that mean to you when you say time freedom? Like, how do you define that?
So, I was in banking, being a manager, I was working for a bank that was open 7 days a week, in a retail type of location. So it was very time demanding. And when staffing was short, my hours got even longer. And I went in and looked at, doing a promotion into, kind of higher level management and talked about, the time commitment there and everything. And, with the pay increases, but the increase in the amount of time, I would effectively be making less per hour. So it just felt like I had topped out, for what I could do with the amount of time that I was putting in. And it just didn't seem right. I just didn't feel like I was getting paid the value of what I bring to the table. And, that passion to just help other people just made so much sense. So, when I look at that time issue, during that interview for that next step up really struck me like, I don't want to work more hours. I want to work less hours for the same amount of money.
Yeah.
And so that really kind of pushed me to figure out how to do that.
And you settled on bookkeeping, and I'm glad that.
And I settled on bookkeeping.
And the profession is glad that you did so well, because I know the quality of work that you do. So let's go back to something that you mentioned earlier. Hey, you signed on 15 clients, but you're working with 8. Let's talk about some of the challenges of starting a bookkeeping business, because we certainly know, and everyone should know out there, that starting your own business is hard work, and starting your own bookkeeping business is certainly not for everyone. And there are specific challenges. So you went through the course of Bookkeeper Business Launch. You had your first client on day 4 when you started your business, although it was a kind of a built-in client, but we'll still give you that one.
Yeah.
And you get credit for that. But like after you went through the course, what was one of the first challenges that you faced in getting your business off the ground?
Well, I think a lot of it was sticking to my niche. So I guess October, about 3 months in, I joined BNI for networking, and it was the same group I was a part of in my banking life. So I already had built-in trust, but not obviously within this industry. And a lot of them wanted to help me out, and a lot of them were not big enough to really be a client. And being new and maybe not wanting to disappoint people, not wanting to say no. I took on a couple of them as micro clients, did some quarterly type of stuff, and really it spent more time doing stuff for not the value that I should have been getting. And so a lot of them are actually the ones that I have reduced down because, honestly, it was a conversation of, you really can't afford what we're doing here. I don't feel like I can give you the right amount of service for, what you can pay. And so let's do some training instead and get you going that way. So, kind of that soft let them go type of thing for several of them. Okay.
So kind of taking on people when you probably shouldn't have taken them on as clients.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, so saying no is hard though, Ben.
Mm-hmm. Are you a people pleaser?
No, not at all.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I am.
Oh.
Fine.
You just were trying to please me there. I got you. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of us are. And, that's, that can be good and bad, right? We won't dive into that today because that's a whole session where we could probably both lie down on the couch and totally figure that one out.
Yeah. Let's not go there. We'll both end up in tears.
Thank you. That's right. Okay. So that's one challenge. So let's dive a little bit deeper into that. So marketing.
Sure.
Sure. How did you get these clients? I mean, you said BNI, and by the way, for everybody who doesn't know, BNI is Bravo November India. That stands for Business Networking International. It is a great place for which you can go and get clients for your business. But you have to take a certain approach that we talk about in all of our programs. And that's not the one where you go there and try to beat people into becoming your clients. But other than BNI, other than being involved, which is a huge involvement though, like how did you go about and get these clients?
Well, I'll be honest. My husband has been a incredible sounding board and marketing for me. We have done everything from just a very soft touch of putting my cards up around areas that truck drivers are going to be in, to him just talking to them and showing them the accounting app and how easy his bookkeeper makes it for him. And so that was a couple of clients were attained that way. But majority of them, did come from BNI referrals and then referrals of those referrals.
Which is a indication of the quality of work that you give over to them, and which is great. So looking back on this journey that you've been on for some time now, is there something that you wish you would have known when you started off that you didn't?
Oh goodness. I think that the one thing I wish I would have known is to take your time as you're going through the learning process, to really delve in and do a little bit of that bookkeeping for yourself, for your business, use the demo accounts, play with them, and put processes into place. I'm still struggling to put a lot of processes in place. Thankfully we've had some really good, insight to that lately, and that's finally happening in the business. But not having those processes and procedures in place and routines in place made it really difficult. And the other piece of it was just being self-employed, and having that time freedom is a double-edged sword, because
Amen.
When you don't have to be somewhere in the morning, you really have to discipline yourself. So if you're doing this and taking that leap right off the bat to do this full time and not stepping up as a side gig first, that time management piece and not wasting your time on things that aren't actually building your business.
Absolutely. We call that breakthrough work, things that actually turn the dial.
I did a lot of busy work, Ben.
Oh, we all do.
A lot of it.
Yeah. And just for everybody who doesn't know, busy work is basically stuff that we do to avoid doing the breakthrough work that we really don't want to do, but we know that we need to do. And it's this conundrum. And the only way in which we can do it is to do it. And we are our own worst enemy, and we are our own best asset too. So like you said, it's a double-edged sword. All right. So at this point, would you ever go to work for someone else again?
No.
Yeah, I like that. No hesitation. No.
No.
I've had people.
We've had this conversation several times, and with both my husband and I going into self-employment at the same time, neither of us can imagine going back and having to work for someone else.
Yeah, that's so true. That is so true.
Yeah.
Well, I know that's an inspiration, and I kind of want to dive into what's next for you and the opportunity that's before you, because as you know, owning your own business presents a whole host of opportunities of which you are in control of. So let's shift gears a little bit now and let's start talking about that opportunity. So why don't you tee up for me the challenge, the opportunity that's before you today?
So Ben, the biggest challenge that I'm facing right now is if I grow very much bigger, my time is going to really be crunched into if I don't hire someone. And obviously, having been in banking and in management before, I've had to manage people in the past. And frankly, I don't know if I want to do that again. And I don't know if it's going to be different as the owner of the business versus a representative of a business. And so, so there's some trepidation there of growing very much further, where I would have to bring in additional help at this point.
Okay. So basically, you're saying, what do I want to be when I grow up?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let me ask a few questions about this. So is the and I hear the dog in the background, which is one of the great things about
Yeah.
being virtual is that you can bring your dog to work. Or actually, you
Yes.
can be at your dog's work area, whatever the case may be. But it is nice to have furry friends. I put mine upstairs because he just goes crazy if anything out of the ordinary happens, like a bird flying around.
Yeah.
No, that's a great thing. So, there's a lot of opportunity that is there and that is in front of you, but determining where we want to be, that's something that's only a choice that you can make. And so I want to kind of help you to think through that on your own. Okay.
Okay.
First, I want to ask, how would you define success as it relates to business and life?
For me, success is having the ability to do what I want to do, and having enough financially to do that. And so, when you travel and go on vacation, you're not like constantly looking at the bank account to go, I don't know if we should do that little extra excursion, or, oh, can I buy this too? Or, is that in the budget to do that? And so really for me, I think that financial security, point in your life is where I would find, success defined.
Okay. So at this point in your business, is there a need, like a daily need, like sustenance for more business and more income?
Based upon the overall household,
Yeah.
no.
Okay. All right. So it's no longer when you're just trying to decide what you want to be when you grow up, so to speak, which, by the way, I'm still deciding to, and I try to decide it every single day. But the first thing I want to say, all right, is there a pressing need here? And so the answer to that is no for you, correct?
No.
Okay. So that's good because now you have choices, right? It's you don't have to take on clients. And when we have to take on clients, that's kind of when we get in that situation where you described earlier. And that's probably the reason, right? Hey, we needed the
Yes,
money.
absolutely.
And that's natural, right? To start off and like, if you can, I always say, if you can fog a mirror and pay the bill, I'll take you on as a client when I begin. But you start to learn and get more selective. And so you're not in that position. So you have the luxury of that. But I hear also in your voice that it would be nice to have additional margin in terms of more money. Is that right?
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay. So right now, what is your capacity? Like if without having to work yourself to death, like to get up to a 40-hour week, do you have capacity?
Oh, goodness, Ben. I have to work 40 hours again?
Well, that's just a number I pulled,
Okay.
Yeah.
Please, no, we're not going to work 40 hours.
Okay.
Okay. So,
So what do you want to work? What in an ideal case, kind of going back to that, how many hours?
and that's, why we talked about time freedom. It's been kind of nice not working a legitimate 40-hour week anymore. So, legitimate, I would say like a 20-hour work week.
Okay.
It is where I would like to see myself.
And now where are you?
Ideally.
And where are you right
right now, I would say, do I count all the extra stuff I do for my husband that I don't get paid for?
Probably not. So just like the core of your business. No.
So the core of the business, I probably have capacity of doubling my business still.
And still just working 20 hours?
Yeah.
So you work 10 hours a week basically at your job now.
If we don't count the marketing and BNI type of time.
No. Let's count all of that. Let's
count all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could probably add maybe about another 3 to 4.
Okay. All right.
Clients.
3 to 4 quality clients.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But if I added, the 5 to 7 and dropped out BNI actually I spend a lot of time on because, when you have those quality, warm referrals coming to you, they don't come overnight. It's about building those relationships with the other members. So that's definitely something that I spend, a bulk of my time on at this point.
So if you were able to get to kind of that 3-4 additional clients, you could curtail the amount of time that you're working on BNI.
Absolutely.
So basically you could grow 50% in your business and still maintain the lifestyle that you want.
Yeah.
Okay. If you were able to grow the business, and let's say that you focused on the more quality clients, which you should now, because it's not about getting that income in.
Right.
Let's look and say that you're making, let's say that they're more on the higher end. So you're making 60% more than you are right now in your business, but still working 20 hours a week. How would that make you feel?
It would make me feel successful. It would definitely make me feel like I figured things out. Having that ability to, I still do have a couple of those micro clients. So, trading those up for, ones that are in the niche, trading those up for larger clients, providing that better service for them, I think, would be really good. To just move to everyone in my niche, I think would be a really good goal to put in place too.
So it wouldn't just be growing by 50%. It would also be replacing some of the clients that you currently have with more quality ones. So
correct.
All within this framework of working your 20 hours a week and making 50, 60% more than you are now.
Yeah.
Okay. So you say that would make you feel like you have arrived in control, successful, right?
Correct.
Okay. Now let me ask you this. I got lots of questions here. Are you the type of person that when you reach a milestone, when you attain a goal, that you are satisfied with the status quo? Or do you say, okay, that one's done. Now let's move on?
A little bit of both. I kind of take a moment to enjoy that, but I don't think that I ever have lived without a goal. So, I don't know if the goal would necessarily be business related at that point, though. If it would be more personal related at that point for, things that I can do. I enjoy a lot of the volunteer work that I do.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So before we actually start getting into my advice, and really it's not advice so much as it is just kind of helping you to decide for yourself, because again, this is only a decision that you can make. But the first thing you have to realize is that there is no pressure in this decision. All right. So I read this in a great book, and I recommend it for everybody, by Ray Dalio, called Principles. And he talks about this in there, but he says that, we see that, hey, you've got this decision that is coming in here, and you can have choice A or choice B, and one of them is right and one of them is wrong. That's not the case here. Both of them could be the right decisions. And so either one that you make, whether it is to grow, to hire people, to put in processes to really scale your business, or to kind of just grow to where you need to be, there's not a wrong decision here. Either one of them are right, but we just have to embrace them. And so that first thing you do is realize that there's not that pressure that you have to make the right decision. Okay.
Right.
So once that pressure is off of you, so that pressure of needing the money is not there for you. The pressure of, hey, I have to make the right decision. No, you don't, because either one of them are going to be right as long as you make the best out of whatever you choose. And then third is that, hey, if you choose one, you can always go back to the other. You're not like in this, long-term commitment. It's not like, hey, you're saying to all your clients, let's get married. No, it's something that can be adjusted. So that's the first thing, is to realize the pressure is off of you. And once you truly embrace that, it changes everything. Now it becomes, once that pressure is off of you, it's like, okay, here is the framework, right? Here's what I want to have. And the reason that I asked you at the very beginning, what was the one word that you would use to describe? And you said freedom, and especially time freedom on here. To me, my assessment is that for you, it's more about the quality of life than it is about generating this, massive income stream for you and your family. Is
Correct.
that fair? Um, so for you, I would just say, put yourself in this situation. Really, and this requires a little bit of work. It's kind of like meditation, but sitting quiet and thinking, okay, my income has been raised 50, 60%, and I'm still working 20 hours a week. What does that look like on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a monthly basis, a yearly basis? Does that mean that we can take trips, because we're making more money? Does that mean that my husband can, pull back on his work? Does it mean that I'm able to spend more time? Like, what does it look like in your life? Really kind of say, okay, if this happens, what does that mean? And then as you start to do that, and as you start to visualize, how do you feel? You're like, yeah, that's what I want, right? Or maybe that's what I want, or would not. And this isn't something that you do just like once, just sit in a corner and, one time you do that. It's really methodical thinking through this. But you're not underneath the time pressure here. You don't have to make any decisions right now. And whatever decision you make is going to be okay. So, that would be kind of a context that I would give you and give everybody out there when you're trying to decide where it is that you want to grow your business is, get to the point where you're like Kim, where you don't have to have these pressures on you. But real quick, let's just kind of do this exercise ad hoc. I didn't prepare you for this. Like how would, going back to 60% more, I know that you told me it would make you feel free, but like thinking about the lifestyle for you and your family, what does that initially make you feel?
Well, if that was to happen kind of immediately, we have some aggressive plans to be debt free as well. So, to be able to, expedite the paying off of the house. We've been in the house for about 3 years now, and right now our projections are, about 3 more years, to be debt free.
To pay off your house in 6 years total?
Yeah.
Dang, girl, you're kicking butt. That's awesome. I'm proud of you.
I have some goals, Ben. I have goals.
I love it.
So now you understand why, I'm at that point where it's like, well, I turn 45 next month. So if I could retire at age 50, what would that look like? How much money do I need to have set up, for myself? So, when we talk about that, time thing, it really is, how do I want to spend, my retirement? Do I want to spend it working and managing others, or, helping a handful of clients who basically cover my basic necessities? So yeah, I know what that magic number is when I'm debt free, assuming that property taxes and all kinds of crazy stuff like that don't go through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
But, so when I look at that, at this point in my business, when I'm debt free, my business can carry our household without my husband.
Okay. Even where you are today?
Where I'm at today,
okay.
Debt free.
Okay.
I can cover that.
But if you had 50, 60% more in income, still maintain that, then
I can maintain that. I can, we can do a lot more, traveling and helping others.
Okay.
And I think that is, being able to help others, make that type of leap of faith that we did to become business owners. I think when you have that, financial support behind you to do that, it makes it a little bit easier. But you always have to have some of your own skin in the game too.
Okay.
And I think that's really, kind of where, how do you help people help themselves? And so, when I look at goals and where I see myself, it always involves other people and how do I help them? And I guess that servant's heart type of, mentality, versus, always looking for like, what does that do for me? It's always like, well, what does this do for other people in my life? And so it's hard to answer some of these questions because, it's always been about, what can I do to help and serve others?
Well, and that's so admirable, and I love that, and it's one of the things I really admire about you. A couple of just observations on that. To serve others, we have to first serve ourselves. To give away strength, we have to be strong ourselves. To deliver value, we have to value ourselves first. So it does begin with us, and that's not being selfish. That's actually taking care of business, right? Making sure that we are whole before we start helping others. So while it's admirable, very admirable that you want to help people, and you are helping people, right? And setting yourself up
Absolutely.
for success and making it such that I always say that debt and a big, monthly nut to have to crack every single month is like swimming across a river with cinder blocks tied to your feet.
Sure.
The more debt you take on, the heavier those things become, and eventually you can drown. And once you start to free yourself of that, it's so much easier to swim. It's so much easier to go through our lives. And so you're on this trajectory to get there. And so really there's no like short answer on this, Kim. It's like going through these exercises and determining. And that's really a choice that you can make. And I think that kind of in your gut, you probably know, and that's only for you to kind of determine right now. But know that both decisions are okay and both decisions will be right. And neither one of them are you roped into. But one thing that I'll tell you, and kind of just doesn't matter what decision that you make, there's a couple things that you can be doing to kind of make your life easier, to make it such that whether you choose option A or option B is going to give you more time and allow you to make more money. Would you want to hear about those?
Absolutely, Ben.
All right. Well, that's extra. You're going to pay more. Put it into this. I'm just kidding with you.
Secret sauce, Ben.
Yes,
Come
there you
on,
go.
give
Yes.
it to me.
Well, to the rest of the answer, no, we don't do that. So one of the things that you talked about at the beginning, when I believe I asked, what are some things that you wish you'd have known? And you said the word processes, right? Whether or not you are going to have team on, you're going to bring team members on, or it's just going to be you. Our business is a system. We offer a service, which is really should be more of an experience than it is service. And the system is the value of the business. So an asset that most of us don't realize that we have is our list of clients. And more important than the list of clients, it's our systems. It's how we deliver it. And the less that it is involved, or it involves your day-to-day interaction, the better it becomes, the more valuable it is. Through automation, just through efficiencies, through making sure that all of the friction points in your business are removed. And so as you start to, think about what it is that you want, a very practical thing that you can be doing on the side also is building up your system. And a system is comprised of processes. And processes are basically tasks that we do. And this is basically, you're coming next month, and we're going to be talking about this at our OPP conference. OPP does not stand for a song that was sang by the, who was that? Naughty by Nature. It is actually outstanding processes and people. But once you start to really define these processes and gain these efficiencies, it takes more work at the beginning to do this. And this is certainly not meant to be how do we create processes here today. But really what it is to say to create those processes, because even if it just remains you're going to be much more efficient. So that 20 hours may be able to turn into 14 hours that you have to work. And so over the course of the next 5, 10, 15 years, 6 hours a week adds up. So while at first it's a big pain in the butt to do this, over time, it does it it's a lever, right? It's something that you can gain tons of time back for. And the benefit is that if you do decide that, hey, I want to hire somebody, now you plug them into these processes before people. And, if you come to the point where you're like, you know what, I could hire somebody, just an admin person, and I could take on 10 more clients, and I would still be underneath that 20 hours, and I would still be able to live the life that I define as time freedom, then that's a win for you. So that's the one thing right now is that I would say is that you got to really nail your processes, starting with defining what they are, mapping them out as is, and then going back and saying, how can I improve these? And thinking about them working on your business as Michael Gerber describes in E-Myth Revisited, rather than working in your business. Does that make sense?
So would your processes, Ben, be client specific or your business specific?
Both. And this is one of the things that we're actually going to get into the conference. I've been doing tons of writing and reading, and I've got stuff that I could talk for actually a week on when we have 2 days. I start with the things that are closest to the client and back into it, right? Because really, that's what we're. If it's not a process that's based upon your client, then why do we do it? Right? There's really three major components of any business. There's marketing and sales, there's operations, and then there's finance and admin. But everything revolves around that client and servicing her and making sure that she has a smile on her face and making sure that you have a smile on your face. And then if you bring on any team members, that they have a smile on their face. So absolutely, I would start with the client, right? With the most critical processes that you have that makes your client smile. And start with the most critical tasks. It's not like, let's say a task was to produce a financial statement, or a process is to produce a financial statements. Well, there's a lot of tasks that are involved and a lot of mini processes that are involved to get to that point. But I like to reverse engineer it like that. And in our business, there's just a handful that we need to focus on. And, I wish we had time to go into how we do that and how we do that, how we create those processes. But you'll be getting that insight
I'll see
next
you
month.
in March.
You see me in March. That is coming up. That's not an easy question, but that's a huge lever for you right there, is creating those processes. So let me ask you, if you were able to make 60% more and work, a few hours less per week because you did these processes, now how do you feel?
Oh, I feel fabulous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's more social. It's more time to go paint.
There you go. What paint? What is that your hobby?
Oh, yeah, those paint nights where, you go have a couple beverages with a friend and,
Oh,
2 hours later, you got a picture for your wall.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, that's disguised painting by drinking. Yes, I've been to those before. And I
Yeah.
thought that while I was doing it, my painting was a masterpiece. And then the next day, it wasn't. I don't know what was up with that.
Hey, Ben, I put mine on my wall regardless.
Yeah, there you
So,
go. Yeah. My starry, starry night started to look like a blurry, blurry day. So I do not know what happened. But no, so whether or not you choose option A or option B while you're creating these processes, it is beneficial. So I always ask, okay, if I were to do this and the thing that I decided I was going to do didn't pan out, is that still okay? And absolutely, because you're creating a process, you're still the person that is operating it, right? You're still the person that's doing it, but it is a win-win for you and for your client.
Sure.
And that fits into the overall vision of how you define success. Okay. So that's the first thing. Now, the second practical thing that I'll give you, other than defining that, is that we can gain so much leverage and so much efficiencies by hiring a virtual assistant that it's not even funny. As a matter of fact, we are doing a mini program on working with a virtual assistant. And I have firsthand knowledge with this. Working with mine, Beth is a rock star, superstar. You don't understand how efficient she makes me. You don't understand how she covers up for a lot of my goofs. And the lever that she is for us as a VA, I mean, she really should wear a cape that has an S on there, because she is Superwoman to us. And one of the things, and we will talk about this at the conference, sorry to keep plugging that, but I'm just saying it in natural dialogue here, is that we think that we have to, hire this big team and hire an employee and make a long-term commitment when we don't have to do that. I mean, you can get a VA for a couple of hours a week that is going to really free up a lot of time for you and make you a one efficient machine. Does that make sense?
That's actually really appealing, and I'm really looking forward to that. I've talked to a VA locally, and have been trying to meet up with her to kind of really find out, well, what is it that you do? And so I think that that'll be really interesting, to kind of see what your experience has been, and then kind of how we can plug that in, and then also then meet with her and find out, well, what do you do to, help out and be able to make that personal connection as well with someone local who, might be doing that as well.
Well, and just so you know, we have kind of master plans to train VAs specific for bookkeeping professionals to match them up to gain some stuff, but that's down the road. But just note, and the big takeaway here for you is that a VA could do wonders for you, but it comes after those processes are defined. Because a disservice to the VA, to you, to your client, is just to expect a person to be the solution when the process needs to be defined first. Processes before people.
Right.
If you've been a frequent listener to the show, I think that I've said that on every single one of them, but it is that important, and it bears repeating every single time.
Well, and if you think about any traditional job that you've had, the processes were already there for you when you walked into that job.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't really think about that side of things when you're starting your business.
Mm-hmm. Everything gravitates towards chaos, and it's like mowing the grass. It's like washing our clothes. We have to bring back the chaos and bring order. And processes are the anecdote, or is it antidote? Antidote of I don't know what it is at this point. Antidote for chaos, and it's very important. So I hope that those two things right there help, but we're not done just yet. But before we kind of move on, the two practical things are defining processes as is, and then really starting to stand back from them and improve upon them to remove all the friction points for you and for your clients. And then second thing, after you get through with that, is to find a VA. And you can actually start looking for one now. It doesn't just plop into your lap a good one. There's a whole process for finding a VA and vetting them and making sure that they're good. But it's very little investment, but the return that you get on that is tremendous. So as it relates to processes or a virtual assistant, any questions for me on that?
No, I don't even know what to ask on that at this point.
Well, that's okay. Just planting the seeds, right? So up to this point, we just said we're taking away the pressure. We're knowing that you cannot make a wrong decision, knowing that all these things that you do are going to be able to give you options to really continue to live the life that you want and to live it on a grander scale by making more and working less. I almost said working more and earning less. No, that's just the opposite. No. Yeah, that's what most of us do. So now I know that there's a second part of this that fits in nicely. So why don't you tee up for everybody the second part of what it is that we want to chat about here?
So Ben, if I decide to grow, I have this really good idea as to how I can do it. And it's more pie in the sky at this moment, but I'd like to develop a course, since I niche in transportation, where I kind of teach a truck driver who's maybe a company driver currently how to become an owner operator, and maybe even an advanced class for an owner operator to start its own fleet. Because I think that I've been there and done that so far with our second company. And I think that would be a really good way to transition and create my own source of niche-worthy clients who already would value what I bring to the table with the expertise.
Okay. So almost a farm team of sorts of helping people, providing a semi-passive stream of income, and then giving you a natural segue to grab them as clients when they become big enough.
Correct.
Okay. I think it's a great idea. One of the things that I always like to do when I have a business idea is I like to vet it. I like to make sure that it has legs before I start spending a lot of time. As a matter of fact, I usually sell something and then create it. And not in terms of like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing, but I like to know that before I just suppose that there is a market for it. I always want to find out and test. And obviously, we make our living off of courses and events and training bookkeeping and tax professionals. So I love that, right? If I said otherwise, then I would be a hypocrite, but I think it's a great idea. I don't know the market. I don't know if what the numbers are. I don't know how many people do that. So there's research that you need to do on the front end. But a real hack to that is to figure out, is somebody else already doing this? And I like to figure, if there's already people doing this, then that's actually a good sign. If you have an idea and you go into something and there's not people that are doing it, that's usually a bad sign.
Yeah.
Not 100%.
So I have done a little bit of that.
Okay.
There are two companies who are doing it, but it's only face to face. So there's not an online based one.
Okay. All right.
So so they have to travel to wherever that company is that's providing that, and pay for not only the training but all of their travel expenses along with that, and dedicating that time to be traveling and not really being able to self-pace or do it on your own time frame.
Gotcha. So that's a great sign that two other companies are already doing this. I would want to kind of do some sneaking around, and not in a bad way. It's all available online, but how many people go up? Do they have a wait list? Do they fill up every time? There's obviously from probably the transportation boards or from industries, how many people go from being driving for a company to actually starting their own, and then how do they grow? Is it they usually just stay at one rig, or do they go to 4? So there's probably a lot of stuff that I would want to know. And the biggest thing, though, that I would want to do is be talking to people who that would be a market for. And asking them, like vetting your idea, like saying, hey, here's what I'm thinking, a program, would that be of value to you? That's one way to do it, but the biggest way is to sell it. People will tell you, yeah, sure, I would. But until their wallet is open and that they are putting a credit card in a shopping cart, it's all lies up to that point. Not in a bad way. It's just that we make our decisions. All this is a business. And do you actually put in your credit card number and buy that thing? And so I think it's definitely worth your time to pursue this, to investigate it, I should say. I think it could be of tremendous value. The knock, or the side that I would say to watch out for, is that this is a market that it's not going to be a high price point. It is something that it's not something that's easy to create. People think that what we do is just, we just record some videos. No, it is a lot of work to do this. The good news is that after you've done the work, and after you've set it up, and after you've automated it, it becomes a machine. But to get that machine up and running is a lot of time. But again, it's a great way for you to add a passive income stream, a semi-passive, or seasonally passive, I guess is what I'd say. Once a year, you're probably updating it and all that, but the rest of the year, you're more just kind of maintaining and watching the money come in. There is advertising it. There's automation that needs to go behind it. So it's definitely worth an investigation on your part. It seems on the surface that there is a market. But again, it kind of comes back, Kim, is like, does this fit into your definition of success? Does this continue to provide you with that time freedom? Does it move you toward the vision that you have for your life, or does it move you away from it? So, you've got your side of things, and then you've got the market side of things. And I always start with the market. I always want to make sure that there is a market for this. There is demand, that people would open their wallets up and pay me for this. And whatever it is, knock it out of the park. Like if they think that they're getting a hot dog, sell them a hot dog, some nachos, a Coke, a napkin, a ball cap. I mean, you undersell and over deliver in this. But there's a whole host of things that we could talk about offline that kind of would emulate what we have done, but that I think would be of tremendous value to people who are considering this.
Awesome. I look forward to doing that.
Yeah. So Cards Against Humanity, we can play that, and then we'll get into this after many beers. That's how I would speak at that point. So, oh no, but that's great, because I know that you have altruistic motives on this, and that's altruistic motives, not altruistic. Boy, my brain, I guess, is fried.
No
here.
Ulterior motives.
No
Ben.
ulterior. Yes, alternator. That's something in a truck, right?
Yes, it is.
Yes. All right. Well, Kim, I can't thank you enough for being on here today. And if so, your website is hometownbookkeeping.com. Is that correct?
Home time bookkeeping.
Home time bookkeeping.
Because I'm improving business owners' home time.
Ah, I gotcha. Is that that's a term that is used in the industry, right?
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
If I were in your market, I would know what home time bookkeeping, or I would know what home time is.
Yes.
Okay.
That is the time that you're not over the road.
That is very key right there. You're already speaking to your market from the very beginning. So hometimeBookkeeping.com is where you find out more about Kim. And thanks again for being on the show here today, Kim. Now, if you would like to hear more great conversations like today's with Kim Erick, then I want you to head on over to ilovebookkeeping.com, ilovebookkeeping.com. On the site, you're going to find all of our shows, and we got some really cool show notes and other great resources that are on there. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, just like Kim was here today, then there is a Be a Guest tab where there is a simple application that you fill out, and we would love to chat with you and be able to possibly help you on the show one-on-one. And finally, to discover more about the courses that we have and the programs and the events that we run, like the ones that we talked about here today with Kim, then go to the courses tab or the courses page of ilovebookkeeping.com. Once again, I want to thank you all for being here today. Thank you for being great bookkeeping professionals. We will talk to you next time.
I love bookkeeping. Here's a little shout to all my friends working hard at keeping the books. You want to change your life, you want to grow that biz, it's not as hard as it looks. Be a money guide, a profit coach, step up your game and see. You'll be working less and making more.